Aloha. I want to put together a quick video in reference to climate change and global warming and tie it into the mind control program of this collective takeover of the individual and the masses as a whole, and related to the globe or the globe model and the university system. It's all related, but I wanted to expand it into the NASA program, and as climate change and so-called global warming is such a big deal. It's a big deal because once people start to unravel the deceit that is inherent within this entire idea, they will start to unravel the globe model, or start to unravel all the other lies that have led up to the fear programming that is running rampant within this enslavement, desensitization, separation, mind control program. So like this image says, nationalism teaches you to take pride in shit you haven't done and hate people you never met. That goes down to the actual spiritual warfare that is the intent behind all of these systems: your political system, the university system, the colonial system, the fear program, the enslavement program, the birth certificate program, the legal name program, the social security, everything that corporatizes your personhood, your existence, down to the very relationship that you have to nature, human resources, your family, your culture, and your soul and spirit. Everything is corporatized. Religion is the corporate version of your soul connection. Nationalism is your corporate version of your culture, your peoples. The list goes on and on. The globe model is the corporate person of the earth. It's a backwards, upside down version of what this reality is really based upon. It's shallow, it's artificial, it's synthetic. Your American dream, your artificial ego, is the corporate version of your chakra, your energy centers, your chakra centers that make up who and what you are. You are more complex than aspirin. Like you're more complex than NyQuil, aspirin, Excedrin, all of these commercials that you see. The existence of the human being goes down to the very natures of your relationships to emotion, your relationships to everything that is a part of your reality contributes to stuff like disease, cancer, everything. Everything that you experience and how you experience that contributes to how your body is, and every body that you have is going to react and relate to this reality. So just as you can understand, somebody who's always depressed, a lot of the times they're very sick. They're more susceptible to being sick. That's an actual thing that exists in the ethers and manifests down to the mind to the body. Because it's your soul that's sick. If you're sick and depressed, it's because you have a separation from your understanding of your allness, the understanding of the life force essence, and the meaning and the purpose that you are. Something went askew somewhere. Something went wrong. The very nature of this program is designed to send people off of their original path, which is their soul journey, and get locked into these corporate artificial boxes, which we know today as nationalism, the globe model, the American dream, the political system, the patriarchal program. Anything that's out there that is commercialized and pumped out. Everything, you can go down every single topic that was spoken about in the presidential election debate and see how that connects directly to the distraction program and the working against the human soul, working against the human culture. It's mostly about distraction, because they want to distract you in to manifesting that artificial reality as real. So the globe model is a perfect example of this, because we as a collective have manifested this reality, the globe model reality, into this experience, and 90+% of the entire earth plane believe that it's real. And there's no evidence for that. In fact, there's actually more evidence counter to that argument, not to mention the fact that before the globe model was invented by this control grid, people were already under the impression or understanding that we exist on a plane. In fact, I don't think it really was much of a big deal to the people, because necessarily the shape of the earth plane, because what we were connected to and what we were doing alchemically far outweighed the physical reality. So the ancient cultures were tapped into the energy centers. The ancient cultures were tapped into a higher plane, a higher understanding of the worshiping of the physical reality we have today. We had the understanding that the physics is astrophysicists, quantum physicists. Their foundations are the physical reality. Quantum physicists are really just so-called discovering what was already known by the metaphysicists of our ancient past in Kemetic or ancient Egypt, and the ancient cultures, the Maya, the Inca, all those pyramid building cultures and time frames were already in a relationship with the spirit essence that is the true foundation of who and what we are as the human collective and as the individual experience. This was well known and understood on the material plane, on the astral plane, on the ethical and the supernal plane. Like, all of these relationships were well known and understood by many different cultures in many different ways, in many different languages, which then got commercialized and then thrown under the bus to be replaced by this artificial version of relationship with spirit known as religion, known as the Jesus programming, and all the other religions out there that are making money off of your relationship to spirit, being like the middleman, the salesman for spirit, for God, your connection with God. Bring that money up here and put that money down. They're bringing energy to themselves in the name of God, in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah. They're co-opting the spirit, which is some of the worst shit you can do, next to completely destroying the relationship to spirit, which is what this nationalism and university system does, which is why the university system is based upon atheism, because it needs to make itself God. It needs to make its astrophysicists demigods or angels to save the day. So when they invite Neil deGrasse Tyson on, like, the Bill Maher show, he's talking about saving the planet with, like, laser technology from an asteroid or a meteor that's coming towards the Earth, and, you know, a super volcano that could explode, and those are the things we should be scared of, and the only people that can save us from stuff like that are Bruce Willis, NASA, and Armageddon, and, you know, all the other stuff that we're programmed to think in. On the New Age side, which is the double back version of the Savior program. You have the Galactic Federation of Light, who's supposed to come and save everybody from the evil whatevers that are behind the veil right now. The thing is, the human collective is so much, inherently so much more powerful than we are led to believe, because most of our focus is based upon the system. That is 1% at best of our potential. In fact, it's like the wall in the way. It's literally a wall between the bridge of the body and the mind, and the mind and the body, and the bridge between the mind and the soul connection through everything else. These are walls that get created. The nationalism, the patriarchal program, the university system, the globe model, there are walls that get placed on these bridges of relationships. The divide and conquer program is based upon separation, dividing and creating gaps, so those gaps can be filled by the saviors. So the gap of fear gets created by war and sickness and disease, amplified, filled with prescription drugs, which actually promote more sickness and disease. But since it's approved, FDA approved and all this stuff, we believe this. So this entire system is an artificial system. And one of the main things that is part of this system to maintain so-called global control is this climate change thing, because they're selling this as your saviors. It's like, we have to fix this. Like, what's all this we shit? It's like, you superpowers, the military industrial complex, the industrial age, disease, cancer, the greed program, the fiat currency program has been created by the so-called 1%, the people, the haves and the have-nots are still struggling. Like we've been the ones who've been genocided and massacred and installed with all these diseases, and yet we are told to vote on a certain thing and so on and so forth. But we went from understanding our relationships to the soul, the mind, and the body, which inherently helps us understand our relationship to each other and nature and the earth plane, the plane of existence itself. When we were divided by the colonial program, you can look at all these flags all over the place. Africa was colonized. So all of Africa, all of South America, all of the Northern America, all of the Polynesian islands, all of Europe, Australia, this has all been colonized. When you see these flags, when you see this division, these are what these flags represent. They represent that divisive program, which is not so much about, what the nations. This is a spiritual warfare. So they say like, oh yeah, we take pride in shit we haven't done, but the thing is, you also the counterbalance to that is you are also feared into taking pride by your peers, by the system itself. So the fear is actually the energy that maintains the power and control, and then you just buy whatever the system is selling. So if they're selling an idea of positive energy, which is like the global warming and climate change, you're not going to say anything counter to that, because you don't want to be an outsider. You don't want to be a bad guy. Flat earth realm conversations or anything, even talking about global warming and climate change being a hoax is tapping on the heartstrings of not only the individual but the entire collective, because at our essence we want change, positive change. We want peace. We want things to change. This is why the so-called they are holding back this movement for this global unification program, this new world, new age agenda based upon a new money, a new religion, a new government. It'll all be based upon your heartstrings that haven't been able to be played on a positive kick because we've been controlled on the negative kick for so long. Slavery, we've still been enslaved. Civil rights, that wasn't the end of anything. It was the amplification of the more undercover version of slavery. You are still underneath your birth certificate enslavement program, the Social Security, Maritime Admiralty, military and prison industrial complex. That shit never ended. Slavery never ended. They just changed the names. So that's still all a negative energy we have been controlled by. Now, since people are privy to more information and privy to more connections with spirit outside of the religious program, which was also a negative, it was like a neutral zone, because neutral leaning more towards the negative, because you can't be neutral in your relationship to spirit. If you are neutral, then you are at a disconnect. Religion itself plays neutral because it puts out the guise of having a relationship, giving you a connection to spirit. But since it placed something in between you and the spirit, that inherently creates a gap, a separation, which is counterproductive to the whole idea of the relationship to spirit. So it's actually playing itself as neutral, but it's inherently a negative energy when you expand it on that level. When you understand that you are a manifestation of the spirit, you have a meaning and a purpose, and there is no separation between you, the next person, and the spirit. There is no separation there. There's only the illusion that's been played by these nationalistic ideas and these mind control programs, including religion, including the state, including the globe model, including the university system. All these things are a negative energy. The slave program, the colonial program, all this exists in a negative energy box. Now that people are aware of how fucked up and ridiculous this program is, the system itself needs to do this is the pole shift people are talking about, the pole shift. The pole shift is the energy of the mind control program switching from the negative pole to the positive pole. And the positive pole is this artificial version of religion, this new age religion, this new age government, this new version of unification, global unification. All of it being sold with the positive energies, so-called positive energies. These are synthetic positive energies. And the idea of unity, oneness, and this whole everything that we've been waiting for in every single level. And the people who are caught in between, in that limbo space, that neutral zone, which is the majority of people are still caught up in the religious programming. That's the neutral zone. They will just follow the herd. They will just follow the word, the word of the people, so-called people in power. The word that comes down from pastors and churches is a very powerful energy. It still hasn't been played. Just like the Obama card in the presidency, that card hasn't been played either. They've just played let's just keep the story going and keep people dumb. But they haven't played the Obama campaign Obama yet. They're saving that card because he's one of the few so-called leaders that isn't a white man. So that's an energy that will be played by the system itself. And I really think that they're going to utilize this to usher into some kind of global. He's already talking about global warming. He's already lined up for the whole climate change, global warming, global democratic program, this whole system, this new age, new world system. He's well in line. He's in the seat George Washington Sr. or George Bush Sr. Was in when he was talking about we will have a new world order. It makes too much sense to see that they would utilize a so-called black man to sell in this new world agenda, this new world order. And having these two piece of shit puppets, Trump and Hillary, out there makes even more sense that they would utilize that time frame. Like I said in the last video, Eisenhower to extend his time as presidency because we were at war or something. It makes sense for them to do that again with Obama because he's the obvious choice to stay in that power because Hillary's obviously a criminal and so on and so forth. I mean, you can go on forever, and Trump is just a child. These are two children, two badass kids, and Obama still plays the role. Like Obama and that whole everything is like the parents, and these are the badass kids that are coming to be in power or something like that. And she's only in line to be in power because she's been there for so long, and he's the spoiled asshole little kid who just has a lot of money and says a bunch of shit that he just gives people a voice. The people who are in the neutral zone a voice. The neutral zone is the religion and the workers, the sheeple, pretty much. The people who are just like, I'll just follow whatever the popular kids say. Religion is mainstream pop culture for the spirit. It's like an MTV. Christianity is like an MTV for connection to God. It's a whole. This is how this stuff gets sold. Like I said in the last video, it's all high school, and all of this is to distract you from your true essence, your true connections. So the dividing, the global warming, all this stuff is to distract you from what was already known, what was already understood. So like the tree of life, the Ankh, the ancient Kemetic teachings, the relationships between South America, the Native Americans, North America, Egypt, the Aboriginal Australians, the Polynesian cultures, all their connections are well known by the so-called powers that be. Well known. Which is why they can utilize this energy against the masses. Which is why also it's so important to distract people from tapping into those energies and demonizing all this stuff. So, like I said in previous videos, they demonize the spirit by throwing the soul connections, the soul essence, the so-called primitive savages of the indigenous and aboriginal cultures. They throw that out of the way so they utilized the religion and the Bible so the religion and the Bible, the university system of the past was religion and the Bible, Christianity, to throw the indigenous aboriginal cultures and their connections to spirit and nature under the bus. Throw that out of the window. So now that they don't need religion, which is also an illusion, they don't need that anymore to sell in their new agenda. They're going to throw religion and the Bible and all that other stuff out of the bus so they can get 2 layers of separation from the indigenous cultures and the true connections to spirit. So it's just ascending itself through illusion. So the illusion gets ascended through illusion of by destroying the connections the people have to nature, to spirit, through their experience and consciousness, and how they create their reality with the information, their language, their relationships, their emotions, everything. Every moment of the day is everything within every moment of every day is an energy through the individual and the collective that creates a reality. So just as much as you can see a depressed person will be sick on a regular basis, more so they will manifest sickness and disease in their reality more so than somebody who is happy, who is healthy on a regular basis. So magnify that towards a collective who is constantly in fear, constantly sick and diseased, constantly enslaved, constantly separated from their spirit, constantly put in limbo or subject to the destruction of the earth plane, and just total lack of compassion and apathy towards every relationship that is of a positive nature. That stuff doesn't exist. So in a collective scheme, we are sick, we are diseased, you will be sick more often. So, and that's all in reference to, because of this colonial program. Like, even racism is a disease. Racism is a manifestation of this whole colonial program that has been designed for you not only to hate yourself, just like they create all these ideas to make people, specifically for an example, make black people hate ourselves. Then you can see in the 60s, 50s, 40s, all those cartoons, commercials, those ads, all that stuff. You have people walking around seeing toys made, like a gun made to that's a toy to shoot black people, and that's a toy for a kid, for a little white kid. Like, what the like, this is designed to make the energy of not only an individual, but first and foremost the collective energy of that person to be sucked down into a diseased state of vibration, so that they will have no willpower, they will have no essence, they will not question their reality, they will not be able to do anything in response to the system itself. In fact, they will only subject themselves to what's within the system. This is why politics and this Trump shit and this Hillary shit is so big, because they have to make it big. They have to make it really important for you to buy into the system, to make itself more real, to make the disease more prevalent in your reality. So I even heard they played like a presidential debate in a movie theaters for free and all kinds of shit. Like, first of all, movie theaters don't make much shit off the tickets anyway. They make shit off of concession, so that ain't like a big ass deal. But to get back on point, the intent there is to make this disease, this movie of sickness, cancer, and disease more real in your life, to make the illusion more powerful. And as long as that illusion is powerful, then your relationship, your organic connections to yourself, your family, and culture will be disempowered, sick, and diseased. This is how this whole shit is set up on like the macro scale. This is why so-called global warming and so-called climate change is such a big deal, because once you start talking on that scale, you start disassembling the system. You start disassembling the system of illusion, and start understanding that if they can lie about something that big, then they can obviously lie about all these other things, which is actually what's been happening. And once you start to disassemble that, people now have to fill those gaps. So just as much as we have been have just as much as gaps have been promoted within our reality with fear, destruction, and separation, and lack of fire, lack of willpower by the colonial system. They fill those gaps with the university system, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye with his fucking bow tie, and like all this YouTube channels that are talking about physics girl, and all this like science, going to Mars, going to NASA. I mean, going to wherever they say they're going. They ain't fucking going nowhere. They're just creating ideas for you to think they're going somewhere. You fill those gaps with like artificial positive energy. So when the separation organically happens by people unraveling the illusion, the system of control, that creates another gap. This is an organic gap now. That organic gap is going to try to be filled by the system. There's two things that could happen. You will believe in the system, the artificial new age, the artificial new world order, this whole one world religion and government and whatever it is that system is promoting. You will choose to fill your gaps with that synthetic programming, or you will seek to find yourself through your culture, your peoples, your connection to nature, and your true connections to spirit. Not this shit that gets pumped out by the control grid. Everything that gets said out of these politicians' mouths is designed to distract you, to control you, to keep you from looking into your true connection to yourself, to understanding these balances that were already understood on so many levels. The stuff that the so-called powers that be have demonized. The relationships that we have across the earth plane on the true human spirit scale, not this garbage that they're selling. So that gap is being filled with actual organic material, material, actual essence, culture, actual history, actual truth and understanding. This is why we are questioning such things as the globe model, such big monumental sort of machines like CERN. This is why they gotta make this shit big, like a 17-mile circle that crashes photons against to open up interdimensional doorways. Give me a fucking break. Oh, but we can't show you this. Oh, the system broke down. It got the CERN program got shut down by a squirrel that chewed through a wire, and it should think I'm lying about that. That shit is real. They actually put these stories out there. This is how ridiculous these programs are. All to separate you from understanding your true connections. So, like I said, when I heard that squirrel shit chewing through a cable at CERN and that shut it all down, and you can see all this, they try to amp themselves up by putting Shiva, a statue of Shiva in front of the CERN building, and they try to do all these like, oh, they're doing rituals, they're doing dances, and they're doing all these things. This is all to make you believe, because people who have a half-ass understanding of how this energy works, they'll just believe it because they still vibrate on that negative scale of just fear, and whatever the system puts out, you will just respond to the system instead of tapping into the energy of your system, which is the true connected system, that soul system. See, they're promoting a synthetic soul system through fear to sell you an agenda of an idea of your reality based upon their bogus sciences, their half-ass understandings of reality. And people who don't even have a quarter-assed understanding of reality. They'll buy the half-ass version of reality because they ain't had shit. They've been, this quarter half-ass version of reality has been. I knew there was something more. Those guys are smart up there at CERN and NASA and that Neil deGrasse Tyson. I can't even imagine having a conversation with that guy. He's just too smart. They just know all those millions and billions of light years and numbers. It's just overwhelming. That's on purpose. This is why they got to make all these damn hundreds of billions of light years and all that shit, because they have to build themselves up. 17-mile long CERN. Transhumanism is a supercomputers that are designed to, you can think anything. They think quicker than human. These computers are going to take over. And then the fear of artificial intelligence being, it's a whole program of fire. It's artificial fire. It's like plastic fire. And people are like, ooh, plastic fire. And then you totally replace your willpower, your soul fire with plastic fire. Ooh. So, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to expand upon that moment and then tie it into how NASA is directly related to this whole global warming, climate change thing. This is how it's related. If people start questioning the idea of global warming and climate change, they will eventually start to question the NASA itself, and then everything else. The dominoes will just fall even harder. So like you see that those dominoes that fall from that tiny little domino to the little bigger one, the bigger than that, and bigger than that, and then you got a giant ass domino. So the tiny little domino are things like people starting to like question 9/11 or question. That's easy because questioning your government, period, because you can see how just ridiculous that system is. And then the next system would be going into like so-called global control or collective control, the mind control program. And then the next bigger domino would be like so-called conspiracy theories. And then the next bigger domino would be like stuff like NASA and the flat earth, understanding our true connections. Like each domino gets bigger as you go further into the rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole never ends. Like it keeps going. You have to keep expanding your reality. If you get comfortable, this is a thing. This is the part of the program is the comfort level. People get comfortable. See, being happy about positive energy in a ball of negative shit, which is the political system. This is like talking about global warming and peace and voting, coming together to vote against Trump. That all these celebrities, that's comfortable. It's happy. It's this happy-go-lucky energy that people are happy to be a part of because, we haven't been a part of shit for so long. It's been the separation program has just been the norm for so long. So people are happy to come together and vote. Like, you got a bad guy. There's a bad guy out there. His name's Trump. You need to go out there and vote. Give your power when not at all questioning the entire system. So the bad guy system right now are people who are questioning their reality. And this exists in order to hold these dominoes up. It's like this big domino is kind of heavy. So that last domino that fell needs more weight behind it, needs more consciousness, needs more energy to finally kick over and push the next domino over. And it goes from the tiniest one up to one that's the size of a building, and it'll just fall over. And that's really just like information. And NASA is a big ass building domino that is, in my eyes, has already fallen over. But climate change and global warming is the illusion that keeps it up. So they make it fancy. It's like, oh, you fancy fancy ass programs, they can't be fake. Like, look at this website. It's so well put together. I mean, they got pictures. They're talking about sea level. Look, they even got a parts per million of carbon dioxide chart on the bottom, along with the global temperature. It's up since 1880. The Arctic minimum, land ice. This can't be all made up. Where's the Arctic land on that globe? It don't exist. Antarctic glaciers shrink. Look how professional this is. These are some professional fucking assholes. Sea level. Oh, look at this. It's so official. The deceit is so official. Space robots help clear the road for self-driving cars. That's all they give a shit about. It's ridiculous. It's all tied in to itself. The illusion. Technology, cars, computers. Anything that they can make money off of. Tax money funneled out of your baby's food into NASA, so they can tell you a bunch of stories, a bunch of childhood stories. That's what this is. This whole website, this whole idea, this plays to the child mind. The child, ooh, ah, the moon, Mars. We can go to Mars? Matt Damon went to Mars, so it must be true. Bruce Willis went to an asteroid, so it must be true. Sandra Bullock went to a satellite, and she actually jumped from one space station to a Chinese space station. And China's up there, so it must be true. Ooh, ah. You believe this shit. Hollywood. Intellectual Hollywood. Illusion. President Obama's Climate Action Plan. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. All these official titles, like your PhD and your master's degree and your bachelor's in science and arts and all this shit. This is all official shit. You got 1 degree of half-ass understanding of your reality, at best. Quarter-ass version of reality. U.S. Climate Resilience Toolkit. What the hell is all this shit? You're just making all this stuff up. All this is on the foundation of assassinating people, massacres, genocides, everything that people so adore and worship today. This is what this program is based upon. Taking your focus and keeping it bottled up in this in the moment version of reality that has no connection with the root structure or the foundation that it's built upon. No connection with any of that. State of California's climate change portal. It's like, they wouldn't be lying about this. This is why climate change is such a big deal, and so-called global warming is such a big deal on the political scene, because it's a direct segue into understanding the flat earth. It's a direct segue into challenging the very nature of the university system itself, the mind control program itself. The mainstream media is already fallen. That's a big ass domino that's already fallen, and it's knocking down all kinds of shit. The domino that's keeping that one from knocking everything else down is the so-called conspiracy theory mentality, where people they're okay in that limbo space because they don't have any conviction in themselves, so they can't understand They don't know how to believe. They don't know how to believe in order to get to the space to know what it is to know something. They don't know how to get out of that belief space. Because in order to, first people are believing in shit. Then they got to get into not believing shit. And then they start believing other shit. And then they get out of the belief structures and start getting into a knowingness and being okay with not knowing something. That's another thing that keeps the belief system afloat, is that people are not okay with not knowing something. That system itself is what this system banks on. People not knowing stuff, not being okay with knowing stuff, not being okay with not having belief structures, and that whole world. It's the inconsistency world. That's the synthetic version of reality. It's like you can create, it's like an artificial ego. It's like a big machismo guy who's walking around like he's a big bulky like man who can beat the shit out of everybody, but really he's broken inside. He has a horrible family relationship. He has like problems with intimacy and all kinds of things that are involved in that egoic sort of reality that individual has created for himself. So he has to beat up people or create this big facade, big fancy suits and big flashy cars and big Facebook and Instagram accounts and big, like, has to work out, like really have to bulk your body up, be really buff, and because he has to make something realistic into that reality, make the facade of the soul character, the soul persona. It's a synthetic version of that individual. So that's what this system is doing in order to hide the fact that it's broken. So this artificial ego world is just a manifestation of the same thing that happens to the individual when they have to bulk up the physical reality. Telling you to put these mercury ass CLR, I think those are light bulbs. Those create grids in your house. If you still have those light bulbs in your house, switch those out with LED lights immediately, and look closely, because some of those bulbs have these mercury installed light bulbs inside of them. Even if they look round and look closely, they have those in there. Get those out. They create low vibes. They affect you. This is why this stuff, like the EPA pumps this stuff out. The actual energy company, PG&E, was going around giving these away for free. They want these in your house. Just like they want fluoride in your water. Anything that the system is giving you is not for your benefit. The actual energy, Pacific Gas and Electric Company in Oakland had, or in the whole Bay Area, probably even further than that, had actual jobs for people to go around door to door giving these light bulbs away for free. If you know anything about this, how ridiculous this system is, you will know they don't give shit away for free. And if they're giving something, they give fluoride away for free. They give that shit away for free. This whole genetically modified, they're trying to pump that shit into your reality. This is what this light is doing to you. Get those shits out of your house. Climate mobile apps. Images of change. Ooh, climate time machine. Eyes on the earth. What is that? I know somebody's like, click on that. Fly along with NASA's fleet of Earth science missions and observe Earth from a global perspective in an immersive 3D environment. What happens when you go to school and you look forward to field trips? You're like, oh, a field trip's coming up. I can't wait. You gotta get that permission slip signed by your parents. You gotta get, you're gonna have like a good lunch that time. You're gonna be out with your friend. You get a bus ride. You're gonna see all kinds. This is what NASA and this whole system does. This program, NASA, is basically like the field trip, the ongoing field trip for the adult reality. And you can't go anywhere because you're at fucking work every day. Just like you can't leave class. You can't take any field trips. You got to pay the bills. So vicariously, you live through NASA. You live through your celebrities. You live through social media. You live through the weekend. You live through your children who still have that light in their eyes because they are the ones that get to go to field trips. So that's the infinity that gets promoted, the vicarious soul life. And it just gets amplified over time with Nike putting out self-lacing shoes and fake ass hoverboards and this synthetic version of reality. Like, look at all this stuff. Like, all these people, you say, are all of them lying? Or like, most of them don't know. And if they got any kind of like what is that, clearance, like I'm having a brain fart right now with the security clearance. If you get high enough, like on the lower scales of the pyramid, people don't know shit. And once you get high up into the pyramid, that's when you start knowing information, and the security clearance gets higher. So you either lose your job or you shut your fucking mouth. And this is how this system works. And it expands upon itself. So I just wanted to share that sort of mentality of how this NASA program's tied into climate change, global warming, the politics, the university system, and how it's really just designed to trigger your child mind, your inner child mind, and really keep your true potential dormant, your true connections dormant, and keep you existing in the illusion that gets amplified by the system itself. So, yeah. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.